When the last player leaves, will you please kindly turn out the lights on your way out the door?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube or wherever you're going to download your podcast, this show is free. I appreciate your support. Do me a favor, show your appreciation. It means a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, become a subscriber. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Click that red subscribe button. When you see the thumbs up, I need you to make it go down. Smash it, and don't forget to hit the bell notification button. That way you will not miss one episode, Monday through Friday. Got a question. Who set off the stink bomb in USC's locker room? Because that thing's clearing out faster than Domani Jackson running a 100-yard dash. Speaking of Domani Jackson, the 5-star cornerback who started every game this past regular season, who also struggled. Well, guess what? He's decided to enter the transfer portal. One day after his position coach, Dante Williams, did the same thing. Dante's got a job over there at the University of Georgia. I don't know if that's where Domani ends up, but curious, coincidence, both. Just like Malachi Nelson dropping the news on Lincoln Riley's lap, what was that, on Monday? Another recruit from the 2022 recruiting class, has now, from modern day, Rayleigh Brown was the first one, remember? Earlier in the year, he jumped in the transfer portal. Domani Jackson is the second. Those two guys, modern day. Both two of Lincoln Riley's highest-rated recruits in last year's recruiting class. They're gone, as well as Malachi Nelson. But wait, there's more. On Monday, the freshman linebacker, Tackett Curtis, he decided he's going to bail out on USC. The same freshman linebacker who started at USC. But I guess, Brian Odom, he wasn't being kept around. Apparently that might be more important to Tackett Curtis than learning from a head coach who's going to be your new linebacker coach, Matt Entz, who's going to come in and teaching some fundamentals. Well, Tackett Curtis, he's gone. So, other than those little incidents, Mrs. Lincoln, that was the play. Man, I'm not sure what in the hell is going on right now, but this is really a bizarro world we're living in as far as college football. Things have been turned upside down. The inmates are running the asylum. Because this is what happens when young adults with a child's mindset, this is what happens when they're allowed to make real big boy adult decisions without having any consequences. What do I mean by consequences? Well, you've got name, image, likeness money. You've got the transfer portal. And those two aspects, those two new features that are part of the college football world now, that gives the players the chance in the same year to make money. And if they want to transfer, they don't have to sit out. That was the consequence before. If you wanted to transfer, you had to get a waiver if you wanted to play that same season. Otherwise, the penalty, the consequence, you had to sit out a year. This was the way to prevent coaches, other programs, from stacking their roster. Back in the day, before the 85-man scholarship limitation, this is what USC used to do. They literally would just put guys on scholarship, sit them on the bench for 2 or 3 years because they didn't want to play against them at UCLA or other programs. Things have changed, obviously. Like I said, right now, the inmates literally have the keys to the kingdom. So let's talk about Malachi Nelson and his decision to leave USC. Okay. He no longer wants to be a Trojan. And because he no longer wants to be a Trojan, I'm going to speak a little bit more freely. The only thing that Malachi affects USC is depth at quarterback. That's it. I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a little nugget, mini nugget. He was behind Jake Jensen on the depth chart for the Holiday Bowl. It was Miller Moss, Jake Jensen, and then Malachi Nelson. And it had nothing to do with his surgically repaired non-throwing shoulder. Malachi Nelson needs to grow up, and he needs to realize that he's not the dude, at least right now. And you can't walk around like you're the dude because teammates are not going to gravitate towards that. They recognize real. And Malachi has some maturing to do. So hint, hint, for all of you out there wondering why Nelson is leaving, he's not starting. He's not the backup. And he's having some, I won't say he's having issues with his teammates, but I will say that his teammates are keeping him at a distance, saying, hey, earn it. Don't expect it. So I'm going to talk about the elite high school quarterback paradigm in the next segment. But as far as Nelson is concerned, he was going to be the backup's backup in 2024. He's not ready physically or mentally. And when I say physically, I mean, go get the Benny Wiley one-page syllabus. And this is what it says. Eat, lift, sleep, wash, rinse, repeat. Look, good luck to the young man. I hope he finds what he's looking for. But what in the wide world of what the hell are you thinking is going on with Domani Jackson? Someone tell me, please. Your freshman season. I mean, you were still rehabbing. You were coming off the knee surgery, trying to get your head straight, having confidence in that repaired knee that you can actually get the job done. So you saw sporadic play your true freshman season. Then 2023, you started every game when there were actually times when you probably should have been standing on the sideline. You had a rough year. No one should disagree that Domani struggled this year. I don't even think he would disagree. So despite his straight line speed, and he's got Olympic sprinter speed, he was constantly getting beat, and he was letting guys get behind him. Watching him play, it kind of reminded me of Chris Steele playing cornerback at USC when Dante Williams was coaching the cornerbacks. Domani had plenty of opportunities to make plays this year, and he didn't. He even said, next time I drop an interception, I won't drop an interception. For me, he just looked really uncomfortable. I wanted to say most of it was due to the scheme, but and again, this is where my question comes in. Why would you jump into the portal now? Why not wait until after spring ball? Get a chance to get coached up a little bit by an NFL defensive coordinator, Antonlynn. And you got one of Nick Saban's apprentices coming in, who Nick Saban wanted to hire to coach the secondary, Doug Belk. Again, I'm just not quite sure why he's taking the free agent route after having such a poor season. I just don't understand that move. And then also on Monday, when he didn't show up at practice, everyone learned that Tackett Curtis was heading to the transfer portal. Again, another freshman who started, but he also lost his position coach. Brian Odom is no longer a member of the staff. We know that already. But here's the thing. Tackett Curtis, he's not a teenager. The young man is already 21, or he's going to be 21 before his sophomore season started at USC. And he was actually given a pretty long leash last season. Considering, he had some mistakes here and there. He was learning. He played like a freshman. Made those same, those freshman mistakes. But for me, this one bothers me a little bit, because this is not how you should pay back your teammates who really stood behind you, did everything they could to make you feel part of the team and comfortable out there. Coach Riley didn't want to talk about any specific player entering the transfer portal after practice on Monday, but this is what he did say. He said their focus is always going to be on players who want to be at USC. Quote, "It's just part of the world of college football at this current time." And I think, for me, And then our coaches, the one thing we've talking about our players is putting our energy into the people that are here. At the end of the day, you gotta respect it. You got to have the conversations, and then you go. And the reality is, for us, having people that are dying to be here at USC, that are dying to be USC Trojans first and foremost. End quote. Ironically, even though he's in the transfer portal, Chris Thompson Jr., he's a dude. He's a Trojan. All he saw during the regular season was playing time on special teams. Well, he's going to stick around and play in the Holiday Bowl, even though he's in the transfer portal. I bring that up because the practice numbers are getting really thin. I'm going to have some practice notes later in the show. But here's how I want to end this segment. Here's how everyone should look at the guys who are leaving. USC's defense in 2023 wasn't good. I mean, which players can USC not afford to lose from that side of the ball? I can think of maybe 5 guys. After that, is USC losing out on guys that were going to help the program find its mojo? You tell me. You know where the comment section is. How do you feel about these guys who are leaving? It's odd. Freshman players who started, they're out of here. It's not all bad news. Here's a guy who can help with the mojo. USC actually landed a commitment. They beat Ohio State out for a 4-star defensive lineman. His name is Carlon Jones. I mentioned him. My everydayers. Even if you're here every day, a lot of the stuff I say comes to fruition. That's why you want to make sure you're making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Speaking of Carlon Jones, 6'3", 270 pounds. He picked USC over Ohio State. And Ohio State was the heavy favorite after this young man decommitted from Nebraska. This is how quickly USC made an impression on him. They got into his recruitment late. This young man just got done with his official visit to USC. He was there from the 15th through the 17th. He took his official visit to Ohio State on December 8th. He is now a Trojan on December 18th. You're watching this episode of Locked On USC Tuesday, hopefully. He will be a member of the 2024 recruiting class. And then someone else to look forward to. I mentioned on yesterday's show that one of the running backs that USC was looking at through the transfer portal, he's committed to Memphis. Well, Mississippi State running back Jaquavarius Marks is going to make his decision by Wednesday. USC feels good about this. One last note before we move on to the next segment. This might be a player who could be replacing Domani. UCLA defensive back John Humphrey, he put his name into the transfer portal. He's been at UCLA for 4 years. Well, his defensive coordinator is now at USC. WeAreSC.com learned on Monday that he's got an offer. So I think this young man would match up perfectly with Kamari Ramsey, the safety prospect, who's also in the transfer portal from UCLA and who USC feels really good about. So we'll see. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. This is what Lincoln Riley had to say about Malachi Nelson transferring. Quote, that part's difficult because the old school and all of us had all of the great memories of the guys that we coached and maybe weren't ready in the beginning, and they progressed and got better, and you got to see that at the end, end quote. Yeah, well, that way of thinking for head coaches, it's dead. A part of developing high school quarterbacks, it's done. Almost completely done. It's, for me, it's kaput, finished. In other words, if I'm a head coach, I'm not wasting my time on those elite high school quarterbacks anymore. Just not going to do it. Look, I've been pretty in tune, and I've been out in front about this whole transfer portal and how it's going to change the college football game. It's kind of happening. I said that the portal is going to be, it's going to be the way that rosters are built. Now, do not misunderstand. The high school recruits are still going to be a big part of building a roster. But this is what Coach Riley said on Monday. It's starting to shift to really how we want to build it. And the best way, which is a little bit more into the high school and the developmental, stacking great classes on top of each other. And then using the portal here and there where we need it. And like I told you guys before, I think that's going to continue to taper off as we go on. He's talking about the transfer portal tapering off. I agree with him, but I also disagree. I think it's just going to be shifting. You definitely want to focus your energies and development of the guys on the offensive line, defensive line from the high school ranks. Those are the guys you need to bring up, get them bigger, stronger, faster in your strength and conditioning program. But where I disagree, because it's that one position that every program wanted to have. You wanted to have that elite quarterback prospect coming out of high school. Well, as far as I'm concerned, right now, their value is worthless. And really, they have no one left to blame but themselves and the people who are whispering name, image, likeness, and money, money, money in their ears. I mean, why should Coach Riley or any head coach waste their time and energy with a recruit who's going to leave in a year or two once the depth charts kind of starts to settle in? I mean, you want to put your time in and you want to develop these young men, but why? I mean, like Coach Riley said after practice, you want to identify the guys who want to be at USC, and you want to put your effort and energy into those guys. And he also specifically said, we got a lot of those dudes in our 2023 and 2024 recruiting classes. You want to have those types of guys. I guess Malachi Nelson is the perfect example of what I'm referring to now. I mean, think about this. He was going to follow Lincoln Riley to Oklahoma from Los Alamitos, California, out of high school. And then when Lincoln Riley took the USC job, like a puppy, he followed right behind Lincoln Riley. And now, because Riley is exploring the transfer portal, and everyone believes, everyone anticipates Will Howard from Kansas State is going to be on USC's roster eventually. Still hasn't happened, by the way. He was coming for a year. Well, that 1 year, that kind of sets Nelson's starting quarterback clock back even further, because he wasn't going to pass Miller Moss in 2024. Oh, by the way, Miller Moss said he's going to be at USC in the spring, regardless of what the Trojans do recruiting quarterbacks in the transfer portal. But he didn't say what he was going to do after the spring. I'm kidding. I just had to throw it out there. It was a softball. Had to knock it out of the park. Anyways, this might have been a first for Lincoln Riley. I really wonder what that shot across the bow felt like. I mean, remember, Lincoln Riley is considered a quarterback guru, a Heisman maker. Malachi Nelson was his dude, was his guy. I wonder if this is the first quarterback to kind of say, you know what, Lincoln, I'm done. I'm out. Bye. It's usually the opposite. Guys are coming to him. So for me, this is just kind of sad what's happening to college football. And I hate to dump on this generation that's coming up, but for me, it kind of feels like everyone expects something for free and they want it immediately. Not everyone. I'm not trying to put everyone into the same shoebox, but generally speaking, yeah. I mean, look, Malachi Nelson's a perfect example. Doesn't want to wait, doesn't want to develop, doesn't want to wait his turn. He wants it now. He wants to be Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka. I want it now. It's not just Malachi. This is going on. This is pervasive in college football right now. I've even said the NFL Players Association wish they had it as good as the college players. From now on, and I think Coach Riley even alluded to it after practice, the transfer portal is what it is right now. That's what he said. It is what it is. Everyone knows what the rules are. And in some ways, USC is probably going to be very advantageous because of it. But if I'm a head coach, I'm done recruiting the elite high school quarterback. I'm going to go get one from the portal. One that's been in a program for maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 years. I want somebody who has at least 2 to 3 years of eligibility that I'm going to bring in. I'm not a fan of the 1-year transfer portal quarterback. I don't want the ringer because that's not conducive for a solid locker room. I mean, look, it set Malachi Nelson off. I want to bring that type of quarterback in. And if I'm recruiting high school quarterbacks, go find me another Keaton Slovis, somebody who you can develop. Interesting question. What would Keaton Slovis have turned into with Lincoln Riley coaching him as opposed to Clay Helton? Who knows? I definitely know that Graham Harrell would not have been his offensive coordinator. Look, I get it. Juju Lewis is out there hanging around. He's committed to USC. But is he going to be coming in 2025 or is he going to hang out till 2026? Rumors out there he's going to reclassify. Until it happens, he's not coming to USC till 2026. Again, if I'm Lincoln Riley, I got to start planning for a backup plan. And me personally, I think things will eventually settle down. But right now, it's just crazy with how the players are running the show. And I also think the NCAA and college football at this level, the Division I level, the Super Conference level, the FBS level, the NCAA and college football, they're going to be getting a divorce because there's nothing amateur about the sport anymore. Nothing. And you've got players making more money than their assistant position coaches. You can't have that. I mean, you can, but you got to find a balance somewhere. And I don't think that's going to happen trying to pretend that these are student athletes. College football players at USC, they are student athletes, but they're football players first. So Trojans held practice on Monday, getting ready for the Holiday Bowl. And Riley, he was asked about his defensive staff and if he was going to be making any other adjustments. Well, he said, still not finalized on the defensive staff yet. It's still a fluid situation, still in the evaluation process there. I think at the end of the day, the 3 hires that we've made up to this point, I think if anybody were to say, those are going to be the 3 guys you're going to get and get them all on one staff, I don't think anybody would have believed you. End quote. So that's Lincoln Riley tooting his own horn. And look, I haven't seen any negatives about the hiring of Antonlynn and Matt Entz and Doug Belk. I haven't seen any. Excuse me. He was also asked if any of the new guys would be helping out with the game planning for the Holiday Bowl. Riley said it wouldn't be the right time for them, for the new guys to get involved with the game planning. Right now, they're kind of just trying to develop the relationships with their roster. So, speaking of developing relationships, Matt Entz and both Doug Belt, they were on campus for the first time Monday. They're just trying to meet the players who they're going to be coaching up. It might be too much saying, all right, I'm your new coach and go do it this way. I think the first thing is, hi, my name is, let's get to know each other. So what I can tell you for the Holiday Bowl is, I think USC's roster, the sideline, the coaching staff, it's going to be pretty thin when they line up over there at Petco Park. I don't have an exact number. However, Monday's practice, it looked like a travel squad for an away game. Maybe 60, 65 players were out there, suited up, available. Question, which side of the ball is Malachi Lemon playing in the Holiday Bowl? He was spotted wearing the Cardinal-colored jersey at practice. Well, USC is the home team for the bowl game. Offense wears Cardinal at practice. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's going both ways. Maybe he was wearing that for special teams purposes. I have no idea. Remember, we don't get to see anything. Coach Riley also, he did confirm that Miller Moss is starting. Jake Jensen, he's backing it up. After that, you got walk-ons. I told my everydayers last week that USC was going to be playing a lot of young dudes in this game. A lot of guys who didn't play during the regular season. Well, with the roster numbers getting lower, and it's razor thin at certain positions, I'm actually looking forward to this game. How is Coach Riley going to coach this game? I mean, they're razor thin at wide receiver, running back. There's no Caleb Williams. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this game because everyone anticipates USC is going to get their butts handed to them by Louisville. This is the type of game where USC probably ends up winning by 3 touchdowns. It's just that type of wacky thing. There's obviously a lot of news breaking around USC. I'm going to have a fun-filled show for you tomorrow on Locked On USC, so make sure you come back. Make Locked On USC your first listen every day. And when you're done doing that, get on over to wearesc.com. News is breaking 24/7. It feels like it. So when I'm not on here, you're over there. And then when you're not over there, you're over here. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.